Welcome to the Woman Who Left podcast. Thank you, Donna, for coming on today for the podcast. It's great having you on again after the last time. So we don't need to do no introductions. You're 3 times world's strongest woman, and you are, as of last weekend, the under 82 Arnolds pro champ.
Yeah, that's right.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we'll get to the Arnolds in a wee bit. So before leading up to the Arnolds, you had a wee bit of an injury. So we're going to talk us a wee bit over your injury and the training leading up to Arnolds, and then we can come on to the Arnolds itself.
Yeah, sure. So I competed at England's Strongest Woman in my new weight class of 82kg at the start of July. But on the first event of that particular competition, I detached my left biceps. So on the first lift, so it was a max axle overhead lift, and it opened at 100 kilos. So I kind of really only wanted to do one lift, so I took a chance and started off at 100. And for whatever reason, like I do have to say, this is my own actual fault. Instead of cleaning it from the ground like I do all the time, and then up to my belt or onto like my stomach kind of area, I just kind of cleaned it to my, like as if I was deadlifting it, and then basically sort of like bicep curled it over onto my belt. So that was not the best decision that I could have made, but I don't even know why I did it. It was just instinct. So at specific time, it just basically popped off. I felt it come off. So I cleaned it to my shoulders, and I just thought, oh well, we're just going to have to do a really big press here and catch this. So I did obviously manage to lock out 100kg, put it down, and then went out the back and had a massive, great big giant screaming tantrum about what I'd just done. I'm usually pretty cool customer, to be fair, but kind of lost my shit a little bit. But that was just mainly because it was my own fault. But that said, just kind of carried on with the rest of the competition. I knew it was totally off. It was rolled all the way up here. And actually ended up winning the whole competition. So it did work out quite well, but it put me out of the next qualifying competition, which would have been Brits, which would have qualified for Arnold. So we had a few problems with the with qualifiers and stuff like that. So if you didn't do Brits, then you weren't able to go to Arnold. And as it turned out, some people dropped out, and the organizer asked me if I was going to take a place there instead. So I had a look at the events, and then weren't that bicep heavy really, and like my recovery kind of went quite well. So I just decided to sign up for that. So I had a few weeks training for that really, and we just did that last weekend. So it was a good competition, although a little bit nerve-wracking at times. Obviously, I was worried about my arm.
And in the middle of all that too, you've been cutting weight down to get to the 82s, and you've been cutting from the opens down to well, the under 82 category. So had that any effect on, your training and coming into that other competition, or was that just solely just, that's just how things went?
Well, coming into England, I'd kind of already made the weight. It wasn't really a problem, so I didn't have to do. Yeah, I didn't really have to do a cut for that. I'd already made it down with a qualifier that I'd done before, and I kind of maintained it with Matt McKeegan, just kept it like kind of low. So I just sat around that weight already. This competition has been a little bit different because I haven't been training the same. So I did have quite a hefty water cut that I think like I'd put in a post that I gave Matt some kind of stress disorder with, because he was so worried that I wasn't gonna make it. But although traumatic for me and Matt, it was, although he didn't let that on until afterwards, he was very, very good the whole way. I did make weight, but I did have to do a big water cut for that. So that said, coming up for OSG Official Strongman Games, obviously I'm like back on track with eating and training properly again now. So it's just a few kilo really to get off before then, and we'll sort out how much weight might happen or not happen when flying and things like that. So I'm going to travel out a little bit earlier, just to make sure that I don't retain water when I'm flying.
And how did you find, well, obviously you won Arnold's, so the weight cut couldn't have been wasn't like that drastic that you were starving yourself to make the weight, because obviously you had fueled up again to be able to do the deadlift, the sandbag, the yoke, and so on and so forth to win it. But did you find any what's did it affect you going into the competition having to do that weight cut?
I think that yeah, it probably did, because it was quite a lot, and also it's quite stressful actually. You have to go through like a period of obviously loading the water to be able to get it out, and then not really being able to eat anything for like the last say more than 24 hours really, just trying to get all the water out. So it can be quite difficult, and then obviously being able to rehydrate well enough to be able to perform. So I think I performed like fairly well. And could it have been better? Potentially that it could have been if I'd had a bit longer time and I wasn't eating so much before in like a happy phase of life. So yeah, it probably would have been a bit better, but we did the best with what we could, and obviously just followed Matt's guidance about rehydrating and eating again. And then it helped that the competition was a little bit later on in the day. It didn't start until 1 o'clock, so it wasn't like it was 9 a.m. start kind of thing. We have to be there super early, so that helped in the morning, for that in that respect as well.
Yeah.
So I think maybe it had a bit of an effect, but it doesn't really matter. It was the outcome. It was the outcome that I wanted for at that time.
And obviously, I know from the last interview, you say when you're going into a competition, you go in to win. Is that you still had that same headspace on you going into that competition, even going into it later on as well?
Yeah, I kind of have that mentality about the stuff that I do. This one, yes and no, I suppose, a little bit, because first of all, I wanted to protect my arm, because I really want to compete at the OSG. Then after the OSG is the Big Giants Live team competition,
Yeah.
and it's really important for me I really want to be a part of both of those competitions. So it was just kind of like a run out for my arm, and be conservative and don't break it. So I think I managed that. Like with the Atlas stones, I was kind of only supposed to do 1 or 2 of them, and I still would have won, but they felt really fine. So I just did as many of them as I could, and then the last one was a little bit slippy, and I just stood up after putting it down, and I saw my friend on the stage, and he was like shaking his head at me. So I was like, no, okay, this one time I'll do what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah,
And
because
to
Donna
believe
loves
that.
the stones. You kind of
To
can't help
believe
yourself
that.
when it comes to stones, can't you now?
No, I couldn't help myself, especially when they all felt so easy. So I was like, right, no, I'll be sensible, because like the last thing I want is to, break my bicep on a stone that I actually didn't need to lift, and I would have been even more mad, and everybody else would have been very mad at me that's involved in me and my training as well if I'd done that. So slightly bigger picture there, rein it back in. So that said, still probably shouldn't have lifted the other ones either, but I did half and half.
And because there was what was it, the dumbbell for reps as well? Are you right or left-handed?
Yeah, I'm right-handed, so that
So that's the
was
one you damaged, wasn't it?
no, it's my
No?
left arm.
Oh, it was your left arm.
So
Ah,
yeah, so I was quite lucky with that. It's just the way that I clean a dumbbell. I use my other arm. I'm usually on the bottom of the dumbbell to clean it back up like this.
yeah.
So we couldn't necessarily do that because they closed off the ends of the dumbbells this time, just for safety of the crowd and the referees and stuff. So that was a little bit more tricky. So when I've watched the video back, I don't think my left arm really did anything. It was just like on the side of the dumbbell, just kind of used one arm to do it. But yeah, so I'm fortunate enough that I'm right-handed, and it was my left arm that broke. So that wasn't too bad.
That's good. And one of the other events was deadlift for reps. Obviously you need 2 of your arms, and you did very well in the event. I can't remember how many reps it was now. But did it didn't affect you then during the deadlifts? Was that one of the ones you were worried about as well?
No, I wasn't really worried about that because you get to use straps, so like it kind of mitigates the fact of like having to grip anything, and obviously you're keeping your arms straight, so that's not so much of a problem. It's like the movement or the quick movements, like bicepy movements like this, that cause a few more problems. So the deadlift was okay, and to be honest, I was fairly pleased with the amount of reps that I pulled with that one. Obviously, I've not been deadlifting for a while, and we were allowed to use a suit this time, which I never usually use. So just had to get used to that in a few weeks period as well. So it was an interesting event, and it's 210 for reps at the OSG, albeit without a suit, but it's a good starting point off for the last little block of training I've got up until then, really.
Yeah. And obviously your best friend, the yoke.
Yeah.
You sped off on that, like you really, really done well in that. Didn't
Mhm.
you? I think you got first in that one as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I did,
Yeah.
strangely. Well, it's always a bit like precarious. So if you watch it on the way down, it's all a bit all over the place. And then it seems to take me like another 10 meters to get my life sorted out to go on the way back, and it all just kind of comes together. So yeah, I was fairly happy with that. I hadn't gone to that weight in training at all either. So I was, on a whole, I was pleased with the way that all of the competition went. Again, with the farmers as well, I didn't train that at all. I did like one frame carry with a set of straps on, just because I wanted to feel the weight of it
Yeah.
really. But other than that, no, I didn't bother training that either. So we just kind of left it alone to heal up as best it can and just do the rehab that I had been doing on it instead.
And the sandbag over bar, was that a tricky enough one, or because your arms kind of straighten that, like the way you threw it, there isn't really much bending in the elbows and that either? Was that a smooth? It looked smooth anyway from when you were watching it. I don't know how you
Yeah,
felt when you were doing it.
it was fine. Like I had done that in training a few times, and I just know that it's one of those kind of events that it's a better steady. It's a better steady event, really. So I just kind of took my time with them. So when I walked out on the stage, like the stage was black, the frame's black, the ceiling's black, and I was like, "There's not really a great big gauge. There's nothing on the floor that you can see where to stand, and where you normally would." So I kind of took a bit of a chance with that one, and just thought, right, if I keep it all steady, then I know that I'm going to get all the bags the first time, as long as I don't like kind of mess up my positioning. So I suppose that just comes with experience and that kind of respect, that I was confident that they're all going to go over the first time, just to get them there in the right space without rushing. And that's what I did with that event as well.
And I noticed some of the girls saying the way they had the two stands, one was slightly more forward than the other. That put them
Mhm.
off slightly on their on where they were meant to be standing. So they were standing nearly more or less the same as the other girls, but their bar was like another like 2 or 3 foot back. Did that mess you up a bit or anything, or were you in the one that was closest?
No, I think I was in. I don't know which one I was in. Maybe I was in the one that was. Was I in? I don't
I
even
think you
know.
were in the one closest to the where you walked out from memory, I
Yeah,
think.
I,
Yeah.
I, I was. I was on that one. So no, I don't really know. But I suppose in that respect, again, it's a little bit of experience. I've kind of know what I'm doing and what I have to do. So I'm not necessarily really concentrating on where anybody else is, or what they're doing. So I didn't really think about that. I know where my things are supposed to go, and that's kind of the end of that. But again, that's the experience that I've got, that's came out in that event as well.
And you were leading the whole way through as well. So I think it was no surprise then whenever your name was called out at the end, whenever you had won, like, or were you a bit
Um,
surprised at the same time?
No, because I suppose that I knew that I'd done it, and when I was calculating how many stones that I kind of needed to do, I knew that by doing the extra ones that I'd done anyway, that I wasn't supposed to technically do, that I would have won. So we can see the scores as you come in, as you're coming round. So no, I knew that I'd won, but it doesn't make it. Just because it's not a surprise doesn't mean it's any less
Yeah.
nice. It's still nice to them to shout your name out, to say that you'd won. So that's good.
Is-
And obviously get to be on the stage with all of the other ladies. It was
Yeah.
a great competition for that respect. You know, it was a sold out crowd, and you know, what
Yeah,
more could,
class.
like, I don't think any of the other girls that have competed, maybe except Chloe, you know, where we've been to the Arnold and things like that, where there is a crowd for some of the things that we get to do. So, you know, other than that, maybe other people haven't had that before. So it was really nice for them, I think, to see what it's like to perform on a stage with the pro men as well. And the format was good. You know, the layout, the guys an event and we're an event, so everybody's still staying to watch. So yeah, for that respect, it was a really good competition.